We're going to have a real estate discussion, but this is kind of tied into insecurity in Nigeria. Benue, Plateau, Katsina, other states in Nigeria have, of course, been in focus, with President Tinubu visiting Katsina State for 2 days to meet with security chiefs. Now, Benue State's Commissioner for Information, Culture and Tourism granted an interview over the weekend. He said this about bandits and land. Recently, there's been a massive influx of armed groups into Benue. Their mission appears to be to seize land from our people. He, by the way, was actually kidnapped by gunmen in late September. He was released about 10 days ago. 10 days after that, in early October of last year. So it really is a situation that he himself has witnessed. Now, what are you seizing land for? Let's talk up real estate with Mr. Fatai Asimi, who is the Managing Director at PAC Research to discuss for us. Good morning, sir. Thank you so much for joining us. Good to have PAC in the building once again. You're welcome, sir.
Good morning, Rotus.
Good morning, sir. So look, land is an asset. If you grab it, you hold it, you either realize the value when you either sell or get the value with the sell, profit or loss. So what are bandits taking land for? What are they doing?
Wow, that's an interesting question. And for us, let's put it in proper perspective.
Yeah.
Land as an asset that I want to appreciate before we dispose of, different from the kind of land bandits are actually grabbing and seizing from the rural settlement.
Yeah.
The objective is totally different from the kind of land we want to use as an investment outlet. Mm-hmm. So when those people attack, I remember that most of these attacks do take place in rural settlement, where they want to actually have some financial gain and control of land.
Yeah.
And bandits, by definition, they are non-state actors and they are criminals, and they carry out criminal activities. So usually, those areas serve as hideouts for them. Whenever they attack the people, they go and hide out from security so that they can never be gotten. But beside that, because it's a rural community they're actually targeting, two things come to mind. One is the fact that they need food whenever they are going to run away from that area.
Yeah.
So probably they look for area where people are, the farmers are there, and attack them and collect their farm from them. And secondly, the other angle to it is the fact that they know these are people out of fear, they can always collect money, ransom from them on a regular basis. So that's either a kind of cash or kind. Then finally, the other angle to it is the fact that they themselves, they need a place where they can actually do a place they can settle down for a while, either to rear their cattle or do some farming to ensure that they have those food items they want to eat. But by and large, bandits are not actually grabbing land for appreciation.
To invest.
So it's not an investment. But we realize that, objectively, in recent times, land has been, because of high inflation environment, land has been a major store of value. Unlike the recent time, in the past where we think money is only, one of the major functions of money is to, as a fallow, a store of value. Yeah. But now if you invest in real estate or landed property, so to say, take for instance in Lagos environment, in the last 5 years, property have appreciated more than 500%.
Wow. Yeah.
And that makes it attractive. So I think, that's just the point. Bandits are grabbing land not for as investment outlet, but for financial gains and control, where they can hide themselves and gain prominence and attack on regular basis and hide away from the securities.
Thank you for that. So something in there you said about where they are grabbing this land. As a general, just to widen the conversation now beyond bandits, tracking the data on ownership of real estates, has it gotten better in your view? I don't know if you compare Lagos or Abuja to other areas. How would you assess tracking of data of ownership of land in Nigeria?
As a matter of fact, it's only in Lagos and Abuja that actually see that evolving and developing. But other parts of Nigeria, it's still not prominent. And that's why the challenge we have. But like we said, bandits are not there to actually possess land and own it. They want to own it by force.
Right.
That dates back to where, in the rural area, in those ancient days where villages fight war against each other to grab their land just for entitlement and what have you.
Right.
So, but adoption technology will have been a better option, but we have not seen widespread adoption in the country except Abuja and Lagos. Yeah. And Lagos is gaining traction regarding that.
Now, whenever I'm in Abuja, I'm always marveling at the amount of empty buildings that are there. Wow. There's been a lot of talk, and it's not just in Abuja, but also in Lagos and in reports. And I understand you also at PAC have a report on real estate. Money laundering continues to be quite an activity in the real estate sector. Why is real estate a conduit for money laundering and not just Nigeria. This is across the world, yeah. But why is real estate so attractive for money laundering?
I mean, let's start with Nigeria. Yeah. And what is money laundering? It's a process of trying to actually legitimize illegal money.
Yeah.
I mean, money you acquire illegally and find a way as a conduit pipe for you to actually put that money there so that it won't be getting attraction of security people. In Nigeria, as of today, it's only in real estate we can actually, no matter how large the amount is, maybe less than 100 billion, you can start a landed property development with cash, everything in cash.
Right.
Buy in cash, and all these development stages in cash, everything in cash, and you can complete it. So essentially what people do is just to use that to hide away those illegal money. And I mean, which other investment instrument can make that possible? It must go through the financial institution. But with landed property, you can do that. I mean, maybe because of level of awareness or, financial literacy in the system, though you say it's a global thing, but I think we have some peculiarity in Africa, in Nigeria and Africa.
I want to get to the housing deficit. For years, we've been saying the housing deficit is 17 million, 17. I mean, every year as the population grows and more houses grow, the deficit magically still remains 17 million. We did have a guest that said he thinks it's 30-something million, but what's your assessment of the housing deficit in Nigeria?
Well, but go by the report you are referring to, by our own estimate, it should be around 30 million gap in terms of housing deficit. Yeah. And it has been growing because level of urbanization in urban areas, because a lot of influx people are abandoning rural communities and come to the urban area. Then, secondly, is the fact that, because of high inflation environment, people who come to areas like this to look for businesses and the like, they always come around to address that. But in terms of estimate, 30 million housing gap. But the issue is, World Bank in one of their latest reports, they say Nigeria is estimated about 21 trillion naira to fund that gap, and Nigeria need about 700,000 fresh housing units on yearly basis. Wow. And that should lasted another 15 years for them to actually cover that gap. So if you use that 700,000 in 15 years, you will get into almost 30 million gap we have estimated. You
mentioned inflation just now. Now, governments across the world, not just Nigeria, they are all focused on affordable housing. And Nigeria in particular, successive administrations, this one, the last one, the prior, and so on. Can you get affordable housing when you have double-digit inflation? When you think about everything you have to use to build a home, is that possible?
Well, it's not impossible, but it's a daunting task. Yeah. Like I said earlier, in Nigeria, cost of properties have actually more than doubled. It grew by almost 500,000. Yeah? While rent actually grew by less than 200%. Right. And that's what makes that become a problem. That, okay, even if you invest in a property, for you to actually break even in terms of making returns, it takes you almost 20 years. But that's not the global average. Yeah. Average of 10 years if you invest in real estate property from rental values, because, rent is the price for land and property. Right. Just like other factors of production, we have profit, you have interest rate for capital, you have, labor for wages and the like. So if you have to go by that, is a major challenge. But don't forget that in Nigeria, if average level of import content in any building you see in Nigeria is almost 60-70%. Wow. So if you combine high inflation environment with huge naira depreciation in the last 1 or 2 years, there's no way cost of building will be cheap. And that's why they keep going up. In my neighborhood, every day you see new old houses. People acquiring old new buildings and turning into new ones. Yeah. Before they complete it, see a lot of people already queuing to actually acquire them. That means there's a huge gap. Yeah. So I'm you had that gap, and the fact that you have to spend a whole lot of amount of money to put those structures in order, because people look at aesthetics. Is it marble? Is it? Does it have POP? All those things come with a great, huge amount of money. Yeah. So. When you talk about affordable housing, it should be a major consideration, because look at it, even break down the gap we are talking about. It's at the lower end of the ladder that that gap is very, very wide. So, and can these people afford it? I don't think so. But government must make a conscious effort to make sure that cost of building properties have to be addressed. And how is that possible? Probably find a way of ensuring that local content is increased to almost 70-80%, so that the import content is about just 20% of it. So that, I mean, when you do average it, it becomes cheaper for people. But if you continue at this trend, I don't think it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough.
Okay, you mentioned the federal government. So the government has made a concerted effort to try to address, real estate and housing. MOFI, Ministry of Finance Incorporated, they have a real estate fund trying to, I think it's a 250 billion fund. They just raised 100 billion plus. What do you make of that endeavor from MOFI and the housing matter?
Actually, the target is 1 trillion naira.
1 trillion, thank you, yes.
And it's a serious financing, and it's a partnership between federal government and the private investors. And to show government level of commitment, I think the first tranche of the series was launched in 2024. It's about 150 billion, fully paid by Ministry of Finance. Then another tranche was raised in January this year, about 100 billion, and it was fully successful. But the challenge is, how has this fund been disbursed?
Right.
That's a major issue. And, there was a time, the issue of people using their RSA contribution, pension contribution, to 5% of it as an equity contribution for mortgage loan. But the question is, how much is that worth?
Right.
So until and unless there's a conscious effort that empower people so that they can have enough base to actually access those funds, it become useless. Those funds will just be there, and those people who already have houses that will continue to access them, and that's a challenge. Because, take for instance, if they at 25%, how much is 25% of whatever income you have? So if you want to buy a property of 100 million, 25%. So how much of your pension fund will work? So I guess that one of the ways government can do that is revisit that pension act where that 25% equity contribution is reviewed. That 20% in current day Nigeria, it can go nowhere.
Gotcha.
So probably 40, 50, because you can't consume everything today because of the future. So I think that, but it's a good idea. It's meant to actually provide a long-term sustainable fund into mortgage business, real estate and properties. You said something earlier about how developers, when they build, they want to make their money back quickly because over time it can take forever to make returns. And I think that's, you're the experts here. What does Nigeria need for a liquid, mortgage industry? Because the dream for anybody finishing university is to get a job, get married, be able to buy an affordable home. In the US, you have 25, 30-year mortgages, but that's not the case here. We're trying to get to that level. What do we need? Is it just money or? The starting point will be our legal system. It's not just about money. The Land Use Act? Hey, you are the third. I'm going to quote you. There's two other guests I have. I always quote them on Land Use Act. I'm going to add you to that quote now. So, they have to address that because property transfer is always a challenge. It takes forever. And imagine you have to access a mortgage loan, and the process is taking forever. So between financing institution and developers, that act you need to review that and so that becomes simplified and easy for everybody to do that. Then secondly, be the financing. Even the individuals that will actually want to access the mortgage, do they have the equity they want? They won't want to give them free of charge without their own equity contribution. Right. But their salary, even with RSA pension 25%, that support you have to. That what I said. You have to really look at how to empower more people to access it by ensuring that their equity contribution, they can easily make that out without necessarily breaking the bank. What about monthly rents? That's another issue. Yeah, let me throw that in there. Another one, annual rent, people's salaries. You don't make your money per year. You make money monthly. That is another issue that's still, I know the Lagos State government has tried to address that in the past, but it's just been, annual rent is still an issue here in Nigeria. Some landlords want 2-3 years in advance. This has been on forever. I remember during the era of Fasola government, and people were saying, go and rent Fasola's property. I think government have to be serious more about it, and a concrete law, and then be able to execute it. Seriousness have to be from the government because it's a challenge one. For individuals to actually collect rent monthly, salary monthly, and for them to save to meet daily needs based on their monthly salary. Right. If minimum wage is 70,000 naira, so how much can you save? Talk less of actually make money to, except for big men. I mean, that people like you that live
that
live in Ikoyi and neighborhood that can actually make.
I've left Ikoyi.
Okay.
I'm in VI now.
Okay. What's you making matter worse?
Okay, let me quick before I let you go. I have to quickly get your thoughts. In fact, we should have a whole segment on taxes, but just give me your thoughts on the tax reform. Because some have said you should tax empty buildings in Abuja so that they're not left lying fallow. But your general thoughts on the tax reform we've seen in Nigeria, the effort to get those bills forward.
Okay, as an economist, the first thing I look at, what are the canons of, I mean, taxes have global principle. That is equity, economy, acceptability, and the like. And for even to review the tax, it will be in line with this. But to me, I think what they've just done is about to address all that. But the challenge is the trust between the people and government. Yeah. Even if you said it's 1%, but do people really trust this government to want to pay their tax? And besides, almost 1/3 of Nigerian economy is informal sector.
Right.
So those people, for as long as they are not ready to actually cooperate with government, it becomes a challenge. Imagine, I mean, news added that Nigerians, masses generally actually lost about 1.4 trillion to CBS. That's money among the masses.
Right.
Just 70 million to one person head of state for a presidential library. People are making noise about it. See the gap between 70 billion and 1.4 trillion.
Right.
So the money, the taxes make sense, but the trust element of it, if they actually incorporate that into the whole thing, I think it will go to places and address some of the issues we are facing in that of Nigerian tax system.
Missed having you on the show, sir. It's always, I got to have you back, boy. It's always a pleasure to talk these issues with you. Managing Director of PAC Research, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Rotus, for having me.